Living History, World War II stories as told by those who were there.
Intelligence information was received that the Japanese were using a museum in the center of the city of Hanoi as their regional headquarters for all of their activity. So we flew down. We decided we would use the tactics of simply ramming or skipping the bombs in to the building itself. And you go in and take a look at 2 days later and see what kind of damage, what the damage looked like. But that damage was, pretty great. It was pretty much burned out. But that was when I was hit by small arms fire, and it hit me in the cooler. This shot, just a lucky shot, so I could feel and then touched the Prestone fluid on my neck, and so I knew then I was in trouble. But the flames were really coming back toward the cockpit. I was probably about 35 miles from Hanoi. I hit the ground going sideways, and I broke my right ankle. I heard shouts from behind me, and the shouts were, hey boy, French. The part of the colonial government, which was under the control of the Vichy government in France. And in this case, they were part of the French Foreign Legion division, the only French military division that the Japanese permitted the French to maintain in all of Indochina. When I was picked up in this vehicle, yes, they spoke some English, they did. But there were all types of nationalities, and they took me to the little base that they had there, and which was their division headquarters. And a Legionnaire major named Tokadze, who was Russian, who was Ukrainian, was chief of intelligence for them. And so he interrogated me. And this was in March of 1945. The French were beginning to play ball more and more with allies because the war was going against the Japanese. He said, you know what, I could probably expect that I would be taken up to Mount Wwii, which was not too far up in the nearby foothills, and incarcerated there for the rest of the war. And so I asked him, how successful, what were the results of the attack on the Japanese headquarters in Hanoi 2 days ago? And he said, what do you know about that? So I told him, well, that made a lot of difference, and I didn't realize how much at the time. He said that we have for so long been sending information up through the underground of intelligence, on intelligence about the Japanese that had never been acted upon, and this was the first time it had been acted upon. We're prepared to take you into our little underground headquarters, which is, and they said, we offer to take you around and show you firsthand the Japanese installations that I would dress as a French officer. And we would go to various places, visit the docks at Haiphong, where the Japanese shipping was pretty active, and the railroad station,
but you didn't speak
and
French.
And the airfields that they had two airfields there, and so I accumulated all of this data, maps, and was there for about 10 days doing it. One day I remember they decided we'd go to some French restaurant in downtown Hanoi, and we were at this table, about 4 of us, and by God, these Japanese came in, officers came in, had their samurai swords on, and they sat at the table right next to us, and they sort of said a brief hi to the French, and I just kept my mouth very shut. And one of the Frenchmen, a fellow named Dasturk, said, I don't fancy that they realize that there's an American airman that they're looking at. This one night, we were drinking cognac, listening to some French records on a Victrola, and suddenly mortars started dropping all around us. And the Japanese, like I wrote, prototypical Pearl Harbor, and they invited all of the French dignitaries, civilian and military alike in both Hanoi and Saigon to a trumped-up special event. And they simultaneously surrounded all the military fortifications. They did it because they felt that the French they knew the French had an underground, and so they just decided that they had enough of this and they were going to knock it out. The Citadel had French officers and families there. About 8 or 10 of the students that attended the University of Hanoi came to the Citadel that night, and that day, together with 2 or 3 of the Legionnaires and this French captain and I, were able to make our way out to a quiet part of the fort, over the wall, and then were able to make our way out of the city. So they were all around on the perimeter, and we picked out the quietest place we could, and sort of evaded some of their patrols and vehicle patrols that they had, and so on. It was at night, pitch black. We caught a little boat, and that was a good way to get from cover distance without being on main thoroughfares. We made our way for several days towards Son La, which was up in the mountains, between the Black and the river and the Red River. In order to get to the Red River, but there was a road, a main thoroughfare, a route 6 or something like that, and they had it well patrolled. And so this one day, we came to this road. We had to go on to the river farther to the west, and French Captain Desturgs appointed me, along with another, one of the students. I ended up with hand grenades, several hand grenades. I got my 45 back, and Desturgs said, you know, you stay here and cover us. We'll get over to the other side, first chance, and then we'll meet you on the other side. Well, I didn't think that was a very good idea, but anyway, we hit on one side. They crossed the road, and just as they were disappearing on the other side, there was a shot fired. At about the same time, this vehicle came around the bend, a very regular military vehicle with like a weapons carrier with 6 or 8 seats on either side in the back, and here were these Japanese troops. And so, you know, without thinking a great deal, I just, you know, first time ever using a hand grenade, I threw the first hand grenade and it hit the engine, and it just, you know, just stopped it cold. And then I fired, you know, threw a second one into the rear of it where the Japanese troops were, real quick, and you know, great confusion. And in the confusion, this other fellow and I scrambled across the road and just ran like crazy. And so we then rode in a vehicle from Mok Chau up to Son La, very close to Dien Bien Phu. And there the French had 3 of the aircraft that they had, Potez 25s, that they flew in Morocco, North Africa, back in the 30s, and then they wanted to fly me out in this Potez 25. We took off, and we sort of spiraled up through this open area. We eventually got to 12,000 feet, and we were on top then, and we started flying north. But it was cold up there, and as we flew north, you know, the higher the tops of the overcast got, and pretty soon we were complete overcast, and there was no visual reference at all. And we flew for about an hour and 40 minutes, and you know, we never saw anything. And I knew, boy, we're all going to run out of fuel. We're just going to have to bail out again. And you know, and I'm a reasonably religious person, and I brought up as a good Catholic, but I have never ever prayed so hard in all my life. And suddenly, when I was pretty sure we were just about to run out of fuel, there was a little break in the overcast. The pilot just rolled it over and did a very tight spiraling dive descent. And you know, I just didn't think the wings and the fabric would hold together on this aircraft. And we got down to the base of the overcast was about 2,000 feet. The first thing I saw was a little lake, and I identified immediately as being about 10 miles from Nanning, which is where one of our squadrons were located.